If you think family means love, protection, and fairness, then my story will hurt you. Because mine did everything except love me back. I'm Mira Coleman, 35 years old. And a few months ago, I discovered that the people I trusted the most, my parents and my brother, had spent years writing my future like a cruel joke. But before I tell you how everything fell apart, I want you to tell me something in the comments. Which city are you watching from? And please subscribe, because what I'm about to share will make you question everything about loyalty. It started the day my father, Richard Coleman, called me home. He said, "Mira, there's something important we need to discuss about the house." I remember that day so vividly. The sky was bruised with orange light, and the cold air carried the smell of autumn leaves. I hadn't been home in months. Not since my mother, Clara, told me my ambitions were a little too much for a woman. Still, I went. Because no matter how strong you think you are, when your father calls you home, you still want to believe he means it. The Coleman estate stood on a hill just outside Austin. White pillars, a front porch, and that same old oak tree where I'd carved my initials at 16. Back then, I used to believe that tree would always protect me. Turns out, it watched me get destroyed. When I entered the house, Aaron, my younger brother, was already sitting in the living room, legs crossed, a smug smile spreading across his face. Next to him, my parents sat like statues, their expressions unreadable. "Sit down, Mira," my father said, his voice stiff like a courtroom judge. I sat. Then came the words that changed my life forever. "Your mother and I have decided to transfer the family property and accounts to Aaron. You'll receive a small amount, just enough for your personal use." I blinked. At first, I thought it was a mistake. "Dad, what do you mean transfer everything?" My mother looked at me coldly. "Your brother will carry the family legacy. You've chosen your own life, your career, your independence. You walked away, remember?" I laughed. A dry, broken laugh. "So I'm being punished for living my life?" Aaron leaned back and said, "Come on, Mira. You never cared about this place anyway." I wanted to scream, but the silence in that room was heavier than any argument I could make. Later that night, I sat in my old bedroom, the one with faded pink curtains and a photo of my childhood dog still hanging crooked on the wall. I stared at the mirror, and I swear, for the first time, I didn't recognize myself. That woman staring back. She looked like me, but hollowed out. That night, I made a promise. Not out loud, but deep inside my chest. They think they've written me out of the story, but I'll make them regret every line they've written. A week later, Leon, my fiancé, came to visit. He wrapped his arms around me, kissed my forehead, and said softly, "I heard what happened. You okay?" For a moment, I thought maybe love would save me. He had this calm, charming way of speaking, the kind that made you forget the chaos around you. But little did I know, Leon wasn't just my comfort. He was part of their plan. I remember one evening I overheard a call. Leon was in the kitchen, talking in a low voice. His tone was sharp, hurried. "Yes, Clara. I'll make sure she doesn't contest anything. She still trusts me. Just give me time." I froze. Every word sliced through my chest like glass. My mother's voice. My fiancé's voice. The betrayal I couldn't even imagine. I backed away quietly, heart pounding, legs shaking. That night, I didn't sleep. I couldn't. The next morning, I played normal. I made coffee, smiled, pretended everything was fine. But inside, I was memorizing every lie, every gesture. Leon looked at me and said, "You've been quiet lately." I smiled. "Just thinking," I said, "about who I can really trust." He laughed. "Oh, come on, Mira. You can trust me." I nodded. And that's when I decided, if they wanted to play a game. They had no idea who they were up against. Over the next few weeks, I started digging. Old documents, emails, bank transfers I wasn't supposed to see. And there it was. Leon's name, right next to my father's signature. They'd been transferring assets quietly, all under Leon's business investments. I realized my engagement wasn't about love. It was about control. I was never supposed to marry Leon out of choice. I was supposed to inherit nothing and then depend on him. The perfect trap. But I smiled. Because every trap can be reversed if you learn where it's hidden. So I pretended. I became the perfect fiancé. I laughed at his jokes, planned the wedding, and even told him I was moving on from my family's betrayal. But behind that smile, I was building something else. A plan so quiet, so devastating, that when it hit, they'd never recover. And it all started with one unexpected message. It was from an old family lawyer, a man named Thomas Grady, who had handled my late grandfather's estate years ago. He wrote, "Mira, I think you should know. There's something about your grandfather's will your parents never told you." My hands went cold. I called him immediately. He said, "Your grandfather's property wasn't meant to go to your father. It was meant to go to you. But someone changed the documents after his death." My throat tightened. "Do you have proof?" He sighed. "I did. But someone took the original file. Still, I might have one backup." That was the moment my revenge stopped being emotional and became strategic. That night, I looked at Leon sleeping beside me. The man who had promised me forever. The man who had whispered love into my ears, while helping destroy everything I had. And I whispered back, quietly, "You'll get your forever, Leon. But not the way you think." That night, after I whispered those words to Leon, I knew there was no turning back. I wasn't the broken daughter anymore. I was the storm they created. But revenge isn't something you rush. It's something you prepare, carefully. I spent the next few weeks pretending to be the same sweet, fragile woman. Leon didn't notice that I had stopped wearing my engagement ring at home. He didn't notice that every time he left the room, I recorded his phone calls. And he definitely didn't notice that I had already met with Thomas Grady, the lawyer who held the last piece of truth. Thomas and I met in a small diner outside Austin, the kind where no one asks questions. He looked tired, nervous. He handed me a brown envelope. "This," he said, "is the only copy of your grandfather's original will. Keep it safe. If they find out I helped you." I stopped him. "They won't." I slid a check across the table. He refused it. "No, Mira. I'm doing this because your grandfather trusted me. He always said you were different. He said you had fire." His words stuck with me. Because for the first time in months, I believed it. When I got home that night, Leon was waiting in the living room. The lights were dim. He looked up, half drunk, and said, "Where have you been?" I smiled. "Just out. Thinking about our wedding." He grinned. "Good. Your parents were asking about the final guest list." There it was again, your parents. He wasn't just marrying me. He was marrying into them. Their money, their influence, their plan. But I wasn't their plan anymore. I was their problem. The next morning, I called Aaron, my sweet, manipulative brother. "Hey, Aaron," I said softly. "Listen, I've been thinking, maybe we should let bygones be bygones." There was a pause. Then a small, arrogant laugh. "Finally came to your senses, huh?" "Yeah," I said, pretending to sigh. "Dad was right. You deserve it all. I just want to be part of the family again." He bought it. Easily. That was the thing about people who think they've won. They never suspect the loser. A week before the wedding, Leon and I hosted a family dinner at the Coleman house. My parents, Aaron, his wife, everyone was there. The table was perfect. White candles, fine china, and fake smiles. Leon raised his glass. "To family," he said. I smiled. "To truth," I whispered. Nobody noticed. Halfway through dinner, my father announced, "Leon, after the wedding, will finalize the trust documents. Aaron will handle the rest." I nodded politely. "Actually, Dad, I think it's better if we finalize them tonight. You know, before the wedding stress takes over." Everyone looked surprised. Even Leon. My mother frowned. "Mira, this isn't the time." "Oh, I think it is." I reached into my purse. My fingers brushed against the brown envelope. My heart pounded. But my voice stayed steady. Because, Mom, I think Grandpa would want to be here too. If only you hadn't stolen what he left behind. The room went dead silent. My father stiffened. What are you talking about? I opened the envelope slowly. The paper crackled like thunder. This, I said, is Grandpa's real will. The one you hid. The one that clearly states, everything he owned goes to me. Aaron laughed. Oh, come on, Mira. That's fake. Is it? I smiled. Because the signature was verified this morning. By a federal attorney. Leon shifted uncomfortably. His face had turned pale. He knew it was over. I turned to him. Should I tell them how you helped hide it? How you made sure I wouldn't contest it? My mother's face drained of color. Leon, she whispered. He stammered. Clara, I only did what you asked. The chaos began. Voices rose. Accusations flew. And I just stood there. Calm, quiet. Watching the empire they built collapse under their own lies. But I wasn't finished. Because revenge isn't complete until it burns. I reached for my phone. I think you all should see something. I connected it to the TV. The screen flickered. And suddenly, the room filled with recordings. Leon's phone calls. My father's secret bank transfers. My mother's messages. Every whisper. Every plan. Every betrayal. Played out loud. Aaron stood up, shouting. Turn it off. But I didn't. Not until they'd heard every word. When it ended, no one spoke. The silence was heavier than ever. I took a deep breath. You wanted me out of the family, I said. Congratulations. I'm gone. But I'm taking what's mine. I handed my father a document. A legal claim to my inheritance. Signed and stamped by a federal attorney. Then I turned to Leon. Here's your ring back, I said. Dropping it on the table. Sell it. You'll need it when you lose your job. His jaw tightened. Mira, please. I cut him off. Save it. You had your chance to be honest. Now you can live with the lie. I walked out of that house for the last time. The wind outside was cold, sharp. But it felt clean. Like breathing for the first time after drowning. I didn't look back. But as I reached my car, my phone buzzed. It was a message from an unknown number. It read, They're planning something. Be careful. I frowned. Who is this? No answer. For a moment, I thought it was just paranoia. Until I saw a shadow move near the window of the house. Aaron's silhouette. Watching me. And I realized, maybe this wasn't over yet. Soft fade out, voice slowing to a whisper. They took everything from me. And I took it back. But when you play with secrets, sometimes the game doesn't end. Even when you win.